Marcus, know that you and a lot of guys like to script, your first handful of plays. Does that ever change, like specifically maybe at East Carolina last year when they hit a touchdown on the first play and maybe you feel like you have to respond?
Usually we stick with the plan. I'd say 40% of the time, though, you don't get through all of them. Something will happen. Obviously, if a situation arises like a third down, you're off the script, or a short yardage situation or a goal line situation. But you try to get back on it because those are usually your best plays that you'd worked all week. But it changes, it fluctuates. But usually we at least start out with what we plan on doing.
Marcus, obviously Dylan listed as the starting right tackle. Just what did you see from him throughout camp to make you feel comfortable putting out there with the starting group, and how good of a backup is Tyshawn for you guys there too?
Not to sound too coachy here, but Dylan will be the starter, but Tyshawn's going to play. We feel like we got 8 or 9 really good guys up front that can play multiple positions. I think Dylan did a nice job. He's played a lot of football. He's experienced. He's in shape. He's battled back from his back. So he's looked really good. Looked really good in pass protection, and Tyshawn has as well. So he's going to have his role on this team.
Marcus, how valuable is it to have a guy like Hank Manos, a local kid? He had some success early, then injuries. He's already got his degree, and he's still out there competing, for some playing time for you.
It's huge. That whole group, that whole offensive line group is so durable. Since we've been here, the first spring, they haven't missed a rep. Hank's one of those guys that just, he battles. You can count on him being at practice. You can count on him practicing hard. You can count on him doing the right things. So, it's invaluable to have guys like that on your team.
We're hearing kind of that Corey Rucker's kind of trending towards maybe not playing on Saturday night, or at least being Mercedes questionable. How do you feel kind of about the rest of that receiver group and kind of dividing up targets between them now with one of your main guys maybe out?
Still excited about them. We got a lot of guys in that room that can do a bunch of different things. I mean, I think we're a big physical. AB's got speed. I would say he's big and physical, but he's got a lot of tools that we can work with. But the rest of those guys can do a lot of different things in the run game, and running routes and running specific routes. So they'll all have a role. And then throw in our tight ends and stuff. We got enough guys to pick up the slack if one of our guys isn't there.
You've talked about it in the past, having guys at different positions who can work at other positions. How nice is that to have that flexibility, and without getting too detailed, I guess, what does that allow you to do when it goes to put in a game plan?
Well, you got big wideouts we got wideouts at 220-something pounds. You got tight ends that run like running backs. You got tight ends that run like receivers with big catch radiuses. So, when you get all that, it's fun to sit in a room and kind of piece people, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, putting personnel groupings together where you can maximize people's strengths.
Hey, Coach. Shane just on the teleconference had mentioned DeCarrion Joyner might be an option at that third-string QB spot. What is his role going to look like in the lineup this year, and how often can we expect to see him line up outside of that wide receiver position?
He's going to always have a package in there. I think we feel – I hate saying that because you say it, and then it never happens. So it kind of gets old, and I get that. But, he's shown in the bowl game like he can win, and we can win with him playing quarterback, and he gives us an added dimension and a different play style. So, we've always have our plays that we're getting in practice each week where if it calls for him to go in and play quarterback, he can do it, and our guys can execute a game plan. But, he's kind of like AB. He's invaluable for what he brings us out on the perimeter and then what he can do, playing quarterback as well.
That you mentioned a couple times about having a bunch of different guys you feel like can go out there and make plays. How do you kind of prevent you and the staff from maybe getting over their skis a little bit and trying to keep things simple enough to where guys just can go out there and play a little bit?
It's hard. We tried to make a commitment a couple weeks ago in camp just to, what we're going to do in game one, we're going to do in camp. So, I feel like we got a pretty good grasp on this game plan, especially because it's just things that we've done the last couple of weeks. But you do have to be careful for sure because it can get a little crazy when you get 6 guys in there in the meeting room that know a lot about football and they have their ideas. It can get a little bit out of hand sometimes.
Marcus, we've heard a lot about kind of what Jaheim can bring and sort of the 7, 8, 10 different roles it seems like he can kind of play on this team. I mean, do you guys feel comfortable that he's a guy that could go out there and take 10, 15 handoffs or something like that and factor into the run game that way? And I guess kind of to that as well, obviously Marshawn being the number one guy, at least for now with Christian out, I guess do you feel kind of the same thing? He's a guy that can go take 20, 25 carries in a game?
I mean, he could if it came to that. He's got a bunch of different things that he can do. So, I mean, he can play receiver, he can play running back, he can play tight end. He can do all that stuff. And so each game plan is we're never going to, I told him the other day, like, you tell me whenever it becomes a little overwhelming, things we're asking you to do. So he's going to have a big package in every single game plan that we do just because he's so multiple in what he can do.
You've taken really a lot of heat, at least outside of the building, over the last year. Are you just kind of ready to get this season started, just to kind of rewrite the narrative on who you are as an offensive coordinator?
I guess. I mean, I'm proud of who I am as an offensive coordinator. I'd love to have seen a lot of coordinators out there that are considered gurus come and do what we did last year with 4 different quarterbacks in year number 1. So I'm very confident just what we were able to do. And then, I am excited just to go play somebody else this week and, start implanting what we're going to be this offense and building what we're going to be this season on offense.
You mentioned playing this week. When you turn on the tape for Georgia State, what kind of jumps out about their defense and what they're going to try to bring at you guys Saturday night?
They've got like 8 returning starters on defense. They've played a lot of football. They play extremely hard. They're like their head coach, Coach Elliott, very not emotional in a good way, competitive, like energy and players coach. And you can tell, I mean, they play like he coaches on the sideline. They play with their hair on fire. They run to the football. They're very difficult with what they do up front with their slanting and angling and different 3-down fronts and 4-down fronts. They're not as big as a typical, like an SEC defensive line. I mean, they may be 20 pounds lighter, but they move so fast and effectively and with a relentless mindset that it's going to be tough to block those guys. So we know that we got to have our ducks in a row and like you said, keep it simple where our guys can just go out there and play fast because it's going to be a battle.
Hey, with so many guys with so many different types of skill sets, and you said you want to maximize it, how do you do that while also not creating tendencies that they say, oh, when this personnel grouping is in or when that particular guy is in, we know what they're going to do?
I was laughing with the players last night. There, it's like this is where we start the movie. So it's like writing a book. So you write chapter 1 with game 1 of, hey, this guy's going to do this role in this formation. This guy's going to do, and then you just start playing off of that. So what you see this week, next week, you may have a little bit of that flavor, but it might be something totally different to counteract how you're attacking or how you're using that said position. So you just kind of write a story all year with the different groups and formations and what you're asked them to do.
Spencer was in here yesterday talking about wanting to be aggressive and attack while also protecting the ball. Obviously, 2 kind of warring things there. Just how do you coach that with him in terms of when to be aggressive, when to maybe force something, and when not to? We don't ever want to force anything, but we also don't want to restrain our guys. Like, we want to push the ball down the field. We want to, we've got some wideouts that can stretch the field and go up and get it. We've got some tight ends that can stretch the middle of the field. So, I think one of our strengths has to be pushing the ball down the field. And I think that's what he was talking about, as well as taking care of the football. Like, he's got to be smart, and we have to be smart of, just we say it all the time, playing the play. And if the play gives it to you, take it. And if it doesn't, just take care of the ball. And he's knock on wood, been really, really good at that thus far.
Marcus, we talk a lot about Jaheim and Josh and all those guys coming back, but Antoine Wells, I mean, he's a guy that obviously is making the jump from FCS to SEC, but I mean, what do you feel like he can bring in this passing game? I mean, do you feel like he's a guy that can be kind of that home run hitter, a guy that can stretch the field a little bit?
I mean, he's big and physical and runs his mouth too much in press conferences, but other than that, no, he came up to me downstairs and he goes, Coach, I messed up. And I thought he was talking about in practice. I was waiting for him to say on that route, he's like, I just said something in that press conference. I think I'm going to be in trouble. And he told me and laughed about it. But no, he's got an infectious personality. He's super competitive. Like, he loves the game. Got unbelievable respect from his teammates from how he practices. He's very durable. He's big. He's physical. He can stretch the field. He's got strong hands. He's improved since he's been here already just as a route runner, just being able to get open. And it's not all just vertical things for him. So I'm looking for good things, big things coming from Juice. He's a leader on our offense.
Kind of sticking in the receiver room, Josh Van is the guy that maybe doesn't get talked about as much as some of the other guys that are new in this room. But just what have you seen from him in terms of that next step going from what he was last year to what he is this year?
He just has to, like you said, take another step in route running. Like he has to, just keep sharpening his tools as a route runner, learning how to, different ways of getting open, how people are defending him, inside leverage, outside leverage, and he's done that. I think all the competition in that room now has only made him better. And we talk about it all the time, iron sharpens iron, and he's a totally different player than he was at the end of the season last year, just because of the competition that he knows if he doesn't go out and produce, that he's going to be over there watching somebody else do it. So I think it's really raised his game up.
With Marshawn, obviously the number one guy, but just from a business-like standpoint, I think that's what Coach Beamer said. How have you seen him grow and kind of get better coming off the ACL in that first full season being able to play?
I think he, like a lot of young players, came in and was highly regarded as he should have been. He had the injury. He gets back last year. Things aren't just happening as fast as they need to. He put a lot of pressure on himself. To me, I see it more of a, obviously mature because it's his third year in school, but just confidence, understanding of who he is. He's not he puts pressure on himself to be elite. But last year it was just like, if it's not a home run, he's just in his head a little bit. So I think he's like Josh, is just a total different dude than he was at the end of the season, just from a mental standpoint. He's sharp. He about bit my head off today in backfield. I was like, relax. I was trying to take him out, so just kind of save his legs, and he about hit me. So I love his mindset, and he's everything good about what a college football student athlete should be. Thank you, guys.